Peace and prosperity be unto all who's listening and watching. It's your girl, Shaeranea, right? And I'm back with another video. And today we're going to talk about spiritual awakening, spirituality, and my experience as somebody who has been on a spiritual journey for a very long time. Are you awakening right now? Do you feel different than you've ever felt? You feel like an outcast, somebody who fully doesn't understand what's going on inside themselves, don't fully know what's going on, but you starting to see things from a different perspective. You're starting to see things as they are. You're starting to see things for what they really is. Everything around you in the world that used to be one way no longer seems that way anymore. Everything that you used to know and you grew up to know no longer matters, because now you're awakening from the matrix of the mind and the world in this dimension. So living in the 3 dimensions and growing beyond to the 5D, we live in a 3-dimensional world. We are spirits having a human experience, and we live in this body to experience this life. By our experience, we learn and gain information. We learn to know ourselves. The first start of my journey and what I've learned about spiritual walking and walking in the spirituality of oneself is that the way you start is sometimes start in chaos. You start in a really dark time of your life, the most darkest of times in your life. You would never expect that you would go through the things that you would go through, and all of a sudden you're on that path. Like some of the bad things in your life alternates to a different journey, but sometimes it awakens the spiritualness in you. So when bad things happen, sometimes greater things take place. So when you are triggered within your internal self, you are triggered to be sensitive in your spirit. So now that your spirit has awakening, and now you no longer are conditioned by the world, you're starting to see things for what they really are. Now you're feeling more connected. You're feeling more in tune. You're feeling more at one with people, but you also come to the realization that you have to work on yourself, right? You have to learn more. You need to know information. You get to searching for information. You get on this, when you awaken and you go on this deep hunger for information. You go on this deep hunger for information. You get to studying all kinds of stuff. You stay up nights and days on end trying to find information on different stuff. You're just searching the web, searching the information in the library, just buying books, just on the go. You're trying to figure, and in this process you're learning to be who you already are, learning to be who you are and who you were born to be and who you came in this world to be. So in spirituality, you learn to be yourself. You learn to be who you really are and not what people raised and taught you to be. So you grow from the things that you were taught. You grow from the things that you learn. You grow from the things that was conditioned upon you based on this world. Becoming all who you are already within yourself. Learning, we already come in this world with information within ourselves. But the information within ourselves is not united until we learn to experience life. Because sometimes out of people flow a living river of wisdom that flows out of them. Sometimes when you talk to certain people, the information just flows out of them. It's not that the information was never there. It took time to activate. So sometimes you're in this process, you get connected with you. Your heart chakra, your mind chakra, your body chakra, everything on you, you become one and in tune with. And everything is all connected and all is one. So we are all connected as individuals. You learn to know that nothing is divided, all is connected. We are a unified front. So whatever happens to one happens to us all. If one suffers, we all suffer eventually. So like you see things on the news, and sometimes you see things happening in another place, and you're like, that's not happening here. That doesn't matter. No, it does matter, because what happens to one eventually happens to us all. And people always think that just because it never happened yet doesn't mean it can't happen to them. That is not necessarily the case. Sometimes the effect of things in life are slow, but on a spiritual aspect, things are a lot fast. So on a physical realm's perspective, things are a lot slower here. We can't see how fast things are, but when you focus on the spirit of things, when you focus on the energy of things, when you focus on the frequencies and the vibration of things, things are happening like this. It flows, it's faster, it's like the speed of light. It's a lot faster than how our bodies are in this world, right? So when you realize that, like our minds, okay, our minds, for instance, our minds think super fast, like super fast. And if you don't take the time to focus on your ideas, focus and slow yourself down and focus on one thing, right? Things in this life based on energy is like our thoughts. And what you focus on, you give life to. What you speak on, you give life to. So the importance of knowing all your energy put into certain thoughts, all your energy put into certain words or certain vocabulary or things that you believe. Your energy is the manifestation of your life. So they say reality is perspective. Yes, reality is the perspective of what you think, believe, and want to see for yourself. Because in reality, if you believe and want to see this, is a inner hope and a deep want for your life. So in spirituality, you experience many things. You go through a great deal of emotion and not fully understanding why you're experiencing these emotions. Every emotion has its own experience and its own explanation for why you go through them. I explained that in one video of what emotions mean and how to break those down, and I can put that in the comments below about emotions and the difference between all of them and what they mean and why you're experiencing them. Same with depression. Depression is a good thing for your body, but in our minds, given that our minds are negative and we have a very carnal way of doing things, our perspective on things could not be good. It's like eating healthy, but because we want to see the results like this, or working out, we want to see the results like this. Since we want to see results and they don't come when we want, it's kind of like you don't believe unless it's when it happens when you want it to. But the thing about the spiritual life, right, is believing in the unseen and knowing within your intuition. It's knowing within oneself that the things that you believe are true, because they are true. Because the way you see, hear, taste, feel in the spirit is different from how you feel, taste, hear in the flesh. So the physical body is able to endure many things. The spirit is different. The spirit is the spirit is good. The spirit is a good part of who you are. The soul is your identity. That's who you are as a person, who you are, like your passions, the things you desire, your stubbornness, whatever it is about you, right? That's your soul. Your spirit is like another part of like your good, and it's kind of like the yin and yang. Same with your brain, like the left, the right. You got the yin, you got the yang. You got soul, you got spirit. You got all these things in these compartments within yourself that divide but also come together. And without neither one of them, you cannot be fully who you are. So we need both the spirit and the soul to be our full potential. Now, to understand that our souls and our lives, the soul, our spirit is the very breath of us, the very life in us and what we breathe. The energy that we breathe in can be intoxicating to us. So be mindful when you smoke cigarettes. Be mindful when you smoke anything because it actually prevents your soul, your spirit, from growing to its full potential. You kind of hinder yourself from being open to what the universe is trying to give you. So when you smoke, you prevent yourself from receiving the information that the universe is trying to give you, because it blocks off any spiritual energy that you're trying to obtain, and it can leave you in a state of fatigue or anxiety or whatever the case may be. So it stops you from a lot of things, and this is why a lot of people who smoke feel real bad all the time. It's because your body is so used to taking on and blocking off the good energy that you need and all the information that you need to receive. So now you have to get yourself into the state of unconditioned, unharmed, heal yourself. Internally, externally, you have to heal your heart, your mind, your soul, your spirit. You have to focus on the things that you know are hindering you from growing. So when you wake up spiritually, you learn a lot about yourself. But by experience, you learn a lot about yourself, and you got to go through hardships in order to get this information. So the greatest way of walking into a spiritual awakening is going through chaos, going through hardships early on, going through something traumatically bad in your life, some really great experience that really left you hurt, like really hurt. You was really hurt about this, and all of a sudden it transcends you into a spiritual awakening. So you went on a whole nother path after all this really bad stuff started to happen to you, and you begin to see things from a different point of perspective and a different point of view. So in this life, for me as a spiritual person, I've been on my journey for about 12 to 13 years, and it has helped me on a lot of things. Like, spirituality has helped me as a person to fully learn who I am as a woman, to fully be connected to myself, but also learn to love myself, learn to know who I am, fully understand emotions, have an emotional intelligence. It helped me have a better emotional intelligence. But naturally, I have a good emotional intelligence because I am a Scorpio, and we are the emotional intelligence of the zodiac. Any water sign is emotional intelligence. So I already naturally have a deep intuition and a psyche mind that allows me to know deeply beyond the depths of certain things. I am able to know things by a certain sense of feel. When somebody isn't right, based on the energy, based on how they look, their gesture, their posture, anything like that will give me a bad signal to say, hey, this person is not right, and I need to stay away from them. You know, based on energy alone and frequencies in the air and the voice of the universe, you know that this certain situation based on in your mind, because your mind allows you to bring up different scenario types of how a situation can play out, and it's up to you to make a decision of whether you're going to go along with that decision. So there's many times where you feel like you're stuck in a void, stuck in a deep darkness, a deep seeping hole where you feel like you can't escape. And you know what? On the outs, it's kind of like wintertime, and that's like a form of depression as well, because when you're going through this, you're going through like this stage of like, you can't go beyond this, you can't go beyond, you don't know what's going on, you don't have any answers, you want answers, but you can't find the answers you desire. So it's like a hopeless state and a deep dark void that you're in, and you want to get out of it, but it's not until you overcome that phase till you realize that you've overgrown and become a greater person. Sometimes the things that we don't understand most are the most common of things that help us out be the greatest person we are. So the things that we don't have the understanding of now likely is the things that help us in the future, because that is the greatest of understanding that we can get, is the understanding in which we don't have now. So the empowerment of information and acknowledgement and knowing on this journey is getting the right valuable feedback, and it's being able to pick between what is right and what is wrong. And sometimes what is right and what is wrong is truly different when you awaken on your spiritual journey, because if you can see on different perspectives, all that was said to be right and all that's said to be wrong is not truly wrong in the realm of the spiritual world. And you see things in a sense of, man, that's really going on, yeah? You know, you just come to this realization that, you know, dang, some things are unfair. And some things are like, okay, that happened, okay. And you just have to learn to accept it, because accepting things for what they are is more empowering than accepting for what we think it should be. So learn the art of healing, learn the art of letting go, learn the art of becoming one with self and being connected with all things and everybody around you. Learn to have an emotional intelligence and be able to figure out things with a few pieces. Like having the ability to figure out things with just small facts. You don't need, like, not having a whole lot, because if you have that ability to figure out things with very little information and pull things apart like a detective, like a mystery, like pull up all this information, and people like, how you know all that? If you're able to do that, that is the greatest gift you could ever have, but you should never always let people know that you have that gift. Also, being able to learn and discover things based on a short amount of information is the most powerful thing that you can have. And information in itself is easier to divide and separate what is good and what is right, what is true and what is not. And it allows you to be able to take in what energy and information you want, because you're not just taking on just a whole lot of stuff that is not good for you. In this process, you want to be mindful of making sure that you don't take in a lot of information that isn't going to serve you purpose. Now, it's good to, learn a lot of different stuff, but the stuff that is not good, just put it to the side. The stuff like energy, people that you surround yourself around, the things you focus your mind on, the things you speak of, like speak life on. You want to be careful with these 3 things, because these really affect our lives. So in this process, you want to make sure that what you think, thoughts become things. So that is a start of manifesting. So you focus all your energy on something, and that thought itself becomes your reality. It becomes the environment around you. It becomes your life. So be careful about what you focus your mind on, your energy, because that becomes a manifested thing. Because you focus so much time on something negative, everything you see, everything you do will be negative in your mind, in the reality of your life, because that's how it becomes. And that becomes your real reality. So also be careful what you speak on, what you talk about, what you speak life into. Life and death is in the power of the tongue and the manifestation of that tongue. So be careful with what you think, but also what you speak. And when you speak of life. Speak of in a manner of bringing things to life. But be careful, because if you speak about something that you don't entirely want to talk about, like, let's say for instance, you're in a conversation with somebody and they bring up something that you over with, but they're not over, and because you didn't get to a understanding or elaborated point, or get it to the explanation, or like explain it down to them, because you didn't get no understanding in the conversation, now you have to go back and deal with something again. The greatest thing that you can ever do is, when you're conversating with people, you want to focus on the bigger picture. So make sure that you focus on overcoming whatever it is that you're going through with other people, and take the time to talk about it. Okay, talk about it. Get your point across, let them get their point across, and get over it, okay? Because the thing about that is, words bring back life into things. So if you speak on something that you wanted to get over and you wanted somebody to forget, you're not going to get over it, and they're not going to forget because you spoke life into it. You brought it back up. The art of, letting go is, just not thinking about it, not bringing it up, not letting it hinder you, not letting it harm you, just let it go, right? But the thing about that is, if you bring it up, you speak life back into it, and you bring it back into your life. So you don't want to bring something that you don't desire to speak about back up. Also, make sure that the energy that you surround yourself around, the energy is powerful. The things you listen to, the things you see, the things you hear, the things you believe. Be careful with patterns. Be careful with different things that may hinder or harm you. Be careful with turmoil, trauma. Be careful with all these things, because these things affect your spiritual journey, and it can determine whether you stay in one place or grow and flourish. We don't want to be hindered in our spiritual journeys. We want to flourish. So if you're somebody who is, you're on a spiritual journey, don't really understand what's going on, take the time to find the powerful energy that you can find. I believe that if you take that time to look for the information that you need and surround yourself around people who are on that same journey with you, you guys can learn together, or find somebody who's been on the journey longer than you. Make sure that you find valuable information and keep it to yourself. Matter of fact, you don't even have to keep it to yourself. Make sure you share it with the world. If you believe in it and truly believe that it's going to help somebody else, share information. Knowledge is power, but knowledge is only power when you use that knowledge to apply in your daily life. So the power of knowledge is when it's applied, but if it's not applied, it has no power. And same with reading. The ability to read or do anything in this life is based on one's choice. You got to be willful. You got to desire it. You got to want to do it. So same with this, find books on being mindful, meditation. You don't have to meditate. You don't have to, do all those things to be a spiritual person, because not everybody who is spiritual meditates. Not everybody who is spiritual eat healthy. But these are key factors to being your greatest self. So if you're somebody who does those things, you want to be great. That's the point. You want to be great. So do things that make you more at one, at peace with yourself, that allows you to love you and love who you are, but that doesn't divide you from the world itself. So make sure that you're not like the world. Be different from the world. Be like self. Be more in tune with you. Know who you are. Know what you love. Know what you're here for. Make sure that even in confusion, that you figure out what it is that you're supposed to be learning. What is the lesson that you're supposed to be learning right now? What is it? And what is the universe trying to teach you? So basically, we're going through different phases of lessons unlearned, and until we learn the lessons in which you're supposed to know, we're going to keep going through the same trials and tribulations until we overcome the hardships in which we're facing now. So the greatest thing about hardships, it built character. So you want to have amazing character. You want to be a great person. You want to be able to solve, problems with solutions. So you want to be able to overcome anything. So the ability to overcome anything is the most empowering thing that you can do. So just make sure that, you work on you, work on your heart, work on your past, your trauma, your past relationships, things that you feel regret about, things you can't let go, things you think about, things you ponder about at the night, things that you wonder on, things that you have within yourself that you need to take time to, just let out. You need to let out. We are spirits, okay? The form of spirit is release, because you need to release energy. You need to release what's inside you. The thing about crying, this vessel itself was made to cry, made to release, made to let go and, flourish, because we cry. That's a form of releasing. We sweat. That's a form of releasing some sort of energy from something that was built up from a act of doing something. So our bodies release, and if you don't release the pressures of things that go on within yourself, then you are bound to struggle and suffer, and you are making this journey a lot longer and a lot sufferable than it is. A lot suffering, I mean. So be your greatest self. I know that it's hard to understand a lot of things in life. No one knows everything. Okay, if you are somebody who believes you know it all, then you feel you have nothing to learn because you feel there's no room for growth. There's always room for growth, and no one knows it all. So let's not be a closed-minded individual. Let's not be fixed-minded. Let's not think that we know it all. Let's be on a mindset that we have endless things to learn. There's a lot that you can learn when you're awakening. It's a lot that you can understand. Symbolism, numbers, who you are, your birth, the birth numbers and the sequence of those numbers in which itself, your things that happen in your life based on the date and the numbers and how those patterns affect you today, and just a whole lot of stuff that I'm not going to get too deep on. But I want you guys to know that spirituality is a great thing because it allows you to be your greatest self. It allows you to be who you are without having to be how people raise you to be, without having to be like society said you should be, without having to be anything but who you really are, and not having to pretend or hide behind a mask of makeup or whatever society says you should have. Any standard of anything is not spirituality. If you live in standards, if you live in a realm of idolization, if you live on that frequency of ego, hurt, pain, fear, if you operate of a subconscious of a low mentality, you are at a low state of awakening, and that is the most dangerous form of awakening. You're not even fully on an awakening. You're like not awakening in the most proper way. So I suggest that if you have some things that you need to work on in yourself, I suggest you work on them, because this spiritual journey is a long, and when I say long, a long journey, and there's much to learn, and it's endless. It's endless. As long as you live to experience, to learn, and you experience to learn a lot about yourself, a lot about the universe, a lot about people. You get to learn a lot through hardships, experience, and pain, trial, error. You get to learn through a lot of different things, and a lot of different things mean a lot of different stuff. So in terms of this life, you want to be open-minded to what you're learning. So peace, love, and happiness, and let's have a prosperous day. Let's bring these things to life. Love you guys. Spirituality changed my life because it allowed me to finally be who I really am without having to pretend behind society's standards, and it really allowed me to learn how to love myself, but also find who I am already as an individual, without even having to figure out, go out and find who I am, but learning how to be who I am already by learning about my identity, who I am as a person, who I am based on what I love, based on my experience, based on life in general. Spirituality taught me so much that, it's just a great feeling to know that you can be in tune with yourself, you can be in love with yourself, and you can know yourself fully in your truth. But it's so much deeper to spirituality that, you got to be somebody who really cares about self-growth and self-worth and self-love and self-care and just love growing, because a part of knowing oneself is spirituality. A part of to knowing oneself is the acknowledgement of self, and that's spirituality in itself, right? So the beauty in spirituality is being free to be who you are, being expressive, being amazingly good at whatever you're good at, and being great and being awesome, feeling good when you wake up in the morning, and just loving who you are as you are, and without the restrictions of the world, not being like the world, being more than the world, being great in all your beauty and all the things that you become and learn to be by loving and cherishing yourself, right? So spirituality is a great tool that I use to help and motivate other people, and I hope everybody learn how to become spiritually connected with themselves, be in tune, be one connected as an individual.